So this is a fun little video I just put together for the start here.
Alright, I'm just trying to pull it up and see if I can see it.
I should do that on my phone too, actually.
I don't see the link yet.
You have no idea what it took to get this.
It's taken care of.
Alright, so that was a fun little video I got to put together this morning just for the stream here from some footage from some vehicles that I had before. Miles already asked how come we didn't get to see the red eye from the clip where I did the big burnout, the bag of money. I didn't keep that car very long at all. I ended up getting rid of it because an opportunity came up to buy a Mustang GT 500 carbon fiber track pack, and I took it, so I had to get rid of that car. But I am joined with Mopar Insider's co-editor and co-host today, Robert Miller, and we are going to discuss the 2025 Dodge Chargers. They've been a little controversial since they came out, so it's a good way we can see what your guys' thoughts are, what your questions are, address some stuff, give our thoughts on the vehicles. So yeah, I'll turn it over to Robert.
Well, I would like to say that a lot of people said that they don't like the car just because it's electric. You got to see the concept recently, a couple weeks ago. I think the concept looks phenomenal. I think the car overall, I've seen the production car on the road, well, pre-production. It looks pretty good. I can't complain about the looks on it. I've only seen the two-door, obviously, but it looks like a nice-looking car. But I'm like everybody else. I'm in that bandwagon where I'm not impressed with electric cars so much, just because I'm kind of like the old-school muscle car kind of guy. So I'm disappointed that there's no Hemi, but I'm glad that there is an internal combustion option.
Yeah.
So, what do you think of the design, man? What do you think of it?
I don't disagree. I really like the design. I actually think that the production car looks better than the concept. There's something about the angle of the C-pillar on the concept that I didn't like. I don't know why. So I am glad that they've fixed that. The production car is a good-looking car. I think a lot of people are hating on it just because of the fact that it's electric. But yeah, there is the gas versions coming too, the ICE ones. On top of that, I just wanted to flex a little bit here. I'm trying to find this video. And I'm going to put this up right here. So, we have been saying that it's getting the Hurricane for over 4 years. I just pulled up the video on YouTube.
Yep.
where we talked about it 4 years ago. And so we knew it was coming. A lot of people, like you, I'm sad to see the V8 go. All the stuff in that video that we started this off with, that was all me, right? I'm a drag racer. I've been doing it since I was 16. American muscle has been my thing. When I started out, I was a big Ford guy. Dodge didn't have anything for me unless you wanted a turbocharged front-wheel drive car. So I didn't really have any interest in Dodge till the Hellcat came out. So I actually find it very interesting to me that I have less of a problem with the Hurricane than everybody else seems to. I think to start it off, I mean, we really got to bring up the elephant in the room, which is Stellantis, because everybody's got a big problem. They're blaming them for everything. And I'll start off by saying when the merger originally happened, the first thing I said to you is this is going to be worse than Daimler, and I still agree with that 100%. I think, but there's also a lot of people crap on Fiat when it was an FCA. You also forget that when it was FCA is when we got the Hellcat, when we got this stuff. But there's blame on two sides here as far as I'm concerned. We would still have a V8 if they had started developing an updated generational V8 years ago. That's why Ford and GM still have them. Their V8s are a lot more efficient. So I think if they did that, we'd probably still have a good chance of having a V8. Stellantis is cheap. They like to say that they don't have any money and they can't say anything, that can't do anything because they don't have any money, while they turn around and brag about having record profits at the same time. They're also not going to turn around and develop a V8 now at this point. But the Hurricane's a promising platform, man. Like that, the Hurricane HO at 550 horsepower in this car is going to stomp current Scat Packs, and you're high if you don't believe that.
Oh, definitely. And again, the elephant in the room is this Hurricane engine, this what they call the GME T6, has been in development way before Stellantis. I mean, they started development of it back. The first time I ever heard of it was in 2015.
Yeah,
and they've been working on it since. So,
and that's another reason why I say you're not going to see another V8 now. Like, I know there's the interest, like, oh, now they're starting to make a new V8. It's taken them almost 10 years to get this Hurricane to market. Like, we were talking about it in 2019 when we originally thought it was going to hit, like, 2021, right?
Well, if you remember back then, we were thinking that a new Charger, this is back in 2018, we assumed that a new Charger and Challenger were coming in 2020. That was what every automotive journalist said. Oh, Dodge is going to be working on a new car, and they were going to, but they canceled that, and they decided, hey, we're going to build the wide-body cars. They went forward with more V8 programs. So we got the Demon, we got the Red Eye. I mean, that's where all that development money went. But honest truth is, the inline six has been in the works for a long time. I was on a recent meeting call with Wolf Research, which was an investment call with Tim Kuniskis. And Tim Kuniskis went through this whole thing. I wrote about it today on Mopar Insiders if you haven't checked it out. Carlos Tavares, the CEO of Stellantis, basically said when he came on board, we are not buying any credits from Tesla. Automotive News Canada posted a thing the other day that Chrysler spent $9 billion to Tesla for emissions credits. And Tavares is known as a penny pincher. So when he came on board, Kuniskis basically had his hands tied. There was no more Hemi programs. So it sounded like they were going to run a Hemi program and an inline six program together. And it sounded like, hey, all of a sudden now the inline six program is replacing the Hemi. And the thing is that the inline six is a good engine so far. They've had a lot of problems in development. We were supposed to see it being used at Roadkill Nights this past year, and there was problems with them blowing up. So we seen that. It was funny because I took video of that Challenger, that drag pack one, and they brought that out, and it was kind of like a lame duck.
Yeah.
But the honest to God was, it was just thrown in there. It wasn't like tuned or anything. It was just, they just threw it in there. And it sounded cool up until it launched, but it just wouldn't take off. I think with the all-wheel drive systems and stuff, it'll do a lot better. But again, it's not a Hemi. It doesn't sound like a Hemi, and Dodge is, because of that emissions credits and them going to the inline six, they are losing a lot of their demographic because of the fact of their group wanted retro-looking muscle cars with V8 power. So they're cutting a huge group out. A lot of people I know are upset that the Challenger's gone. But a lot of people complained. It's kind of difficult because people, no matter what, and you know this, we get emails all the time. People just like to complain.
Yeah,
and
no matter what
the Challenger,
you can't win.
Well, everybody complained. Why not build a two-door Charger? Why not build a two-door Charger? Why not build a two-door Charger?
Yeah.
And now that they have, people are complaining, why not a Charger? So, I mean, you said it the other day. Maybe in the works, they're working on something else with the Challenger name. We heard that they were going to build a convertible called the CUDA a long time ago. They showed it off to their dealers back in 2015. There's always stuff going on. And how many projects have you heard about that never make it into production?
That's the thing a lot of people don't understand is there's a lot of stuff that gets worked on behind the scenes and that can get pretty far along and then still gets killed and doesn't end up seeing the light of day. Especially now, and I'm not, more than ever.
Yeah,
and I still think the Challenger's going to be back because that name's got a lot of meaning to a lot of people. It's got a lot of brand recognition now. To just throw away doesn't make sense. I don't really know what they're going to do with it because, like, the two-door coupe market is not a big market. So there's no market to have two-door coupes, right? Unless they're radically, radically different. My original thought last year was I thought they were going to call the gas models the Challenger and call the electric models the Charger. So what they've done instead is the electric models are the Charger Daytona, and then the gas models are just the Charger, right? And then that's Charger Daytona RT, Charger Daytona Scat Pack. So we're getting into these names that go like this and take up the whole window sticker before you get to the options again, right on year one. But
well, people got to remember that the only reason why that has the Daytona name is because of that R-wing design.
Yeah.
And it just makes it easier. I mean, originally I thought, okay, the gas cars are going to keep the RT and Scat Pack names. And I thought the electric cars would just, like back at SEMA in 2022, they said, hey, we're going to have E-stages. They're going to have badges on the side. You know, we're going to have a 440 model. We're going to have a 340 model. And that's what I thought the electric cars were. So we didn't know up until, really a couple days before the unveiling.
Yeah.
So, but you know what though? I mean, I might be one of the biggest diehard Mopar guys. You know how I am. I mean, I've lived and breathed Mopar stuff since I was probably 5 years old, and I'm probably one of their hardest critics when it comes to this electric stuff. I live in Detroit. You live in Vancouver. You guys have way more accessibility to charging than we do.
Oh, it's insane here. You end up at a red light and
I have like 8 Teslas. Fast charging station. I have one fast charging station here. Yeah. We have one 250 kilowatt fast charging station, and I'm right off of Woodward within 10 miles of me. And that's a Tesla supercharger that they just opened up to other brands this past week. So everything else is slow charging. I don't know how they're going to do it. And I live like, 9 miles from CTC to the headquarters. Yeah. And I constantly question the decision of electric vehicles. I mean, GM's pulled their programs, like they're scaling way back. Ford, dude, I told you, Dearborn. I went to Dearborn a couple weeks ago. There's still multiple lots of hundreds and hundreds of Lightnings sitting there. No one's touching them.
Yeah, Ford's having a tough time.
I don't know. I'm excited about the gas.
Yeah, Ford's having a real tough time.
I don't know, dude. I decision
with their stuff. I know here they're taking like 30 grand off new Mach-E GTs. Lightnings are just sitting on the lots, and like apparently Ford loses like 20 grand every Mach-E they sell already. So then if you throw another 30 grand they're taking off it, like it's a bad situation. And part of it, like you said, part of it's a government thing for sure, and it sucks because I don't think this kind of stuff should be forced. I think they're really putting the cart ahead of the horse here. They've got a long way to go to scale everything, like as far as charging and even for cost to build these things too, right? For the manufacturer. I'm not super excited about the electrics. The Banshee I think will be interesting. Yeah. I think the Banshee is going to make some internal combustion engine guys mad, because you know they're going to come out and prove a point with that car, and it's going to be faster than the 170. I'm calling it right now, in the quarter mile anyway. When go ahead.
I believe you. And the weird thing, I believe in the Banshee. Like I think it's great that they're doing an electric high performance car. I think it's great. I have no problem with that at all. I would still like to see an offset, like, hey, we build an electric car, we can still build Hemi power. Because Ford's doing that with their formula of building the Mach-E and the Lightning, and they're still building V8 Mustangs. So I don't understand, and I really believe it comes down to Stellantis' management team, meaning like the CEO, and it's not about buying credits. It's about them being carbon, zero carbon by 2038 and all this other stuff. They're pushing all these. They're pushing all these European agendas on the North American market, and the North American market isn't buying it. GM tried it, Ford's tried it so far. It's not working. Yeah, and I really have a doubt that it's going to work for the Chrysler Group. Well, the biggest thing is Tim Kuniskis, and this is what scares me, Jared. It's Tim Kuniskis in that research meeting that I was involved with. He said that they're going by a month. They're adjusting month to month. Okay, that means every month they're looking at the situation and trying to come up with an idea. Yeah. And Chrysler, for the last 10 years, has been a follower, not a leader in the automotive market.
Yeah, and that's a big problem. Like you said too, if they, there's a lot of people, you see the comments on our Facebook page and stuff like that, where everybody's, Dodge, you're going out of business now that these cars are gone. They chopped their sales in half when they got rid of the stuff that people already, the enthusiasts, don't like, right? Like Grand Caravan, Journey, whatever. The problem is, if they had a full lineup to spread the cafe credits around, the V8 could probably stick around, like you said. So there's a lot of short-sighted mistakes that I see, and like you said, it's part of this looking at everything on a month-to-month basis, on a short-term basis. I mean, we're just getting a new car now. The Challenger Charger should have been replaced with a new model in between then and now, and still been getting one now based on like a typical life cycle of like 6 years for a vehicle, right? So they need a full lineup for one to start offsetting everything, and I don't see a new V8 happening.
The thing is back in 2015 they said, hey, we're going to cut out the minivans. They kept that alive for 5 years. They did anything they could because that thing was making money, the Grand Caravan in the Dodge portfolio. And it was the number one selling vehicle in Canada. And that was, look how old it was. And people were still buying them up there. That was the number one selling vehicle in Canada for how many years? Here, it was still a super popular seller. And when they got rid of the Journey in that, they lost over half of their sales. So Dodge might be performance, but the problem is I'll say the biggest problem I had with Fiat Chrysler. I think Sergio Marchionne was a genius when it came to business, He saved Chrysler, and he put a lot of money into products. He understood that you have to invest more money into these products to build better interiors and stuff. And the problem was they decided, hey, we're going to invest all this money in 2011, and then they let it slide for how long?
Yeah, they let everything get too stagnant.
Cash out of it, big time. But the problem. What's that?
So they let everything get too stagnant. That's one big issue, right? And that's where Stellantis is kind of in the unenviable position of trying to fix, which I get, I understand.
Yeah.
But
my biggest problem with FCA was they screwed up the brands. Meaning, like Dodge, they separated Dodge and Ram. And on paper, it looks good because Ram can market a totally different, demographic than the cars can. But you took away that mainstream brand. Then they said, hey, the blue-collar luxury brand of Chrysler is going to be a mainstream brand. And we're going to have 3 SUVs, and we're going to do all this. None of that came about. We had a 200, a 300, and the Pacifica, or Town and Country at that time. So they never got past 3 vehicles. They had the Mini 100, Chrysler 100 in development. They had numerous vehicles in development that they canceled. So that became a brand of a mainstream brand, which it wasn't, and it lost its identity. And today, we talked about it the other day, the Halcyon concept, what a joke that thing is. Chrysler's still trying to find their way. They've lost their brand identity. They don't have a clue on how to get back to it. Dodge has become this performance brand when it really wasn't a performance brand. It was a people mover / performance brand. Dodge was the blue collar performance brand. Yeah. And now it's just everything has to be performance. It's not. Dodge is not about performance. Dodge was about affordable, exciting performance, not performance cars, but just like powerful cars that looked good and had attitude. That was the whole thing about the Dodge brand. But they've constantly switched these brand identities, and it's really messed with the development of these products. So now people don't know what to expect. Like, you have people that are confused, like, Dodge is just a performance brand. They need products. I mean, it sounds stupid, but the Hornet, the Hornet is kind of a waste of a vehicle. It was like something like, hey, we're just going to market it as Dodge. But the problem is they need vehicles like that. They need affordable vehicles to make that brand seem more appealing. Yeah. But going back to the Charger, I told you this a couple days ago. It might be a conspiracy theory in my behalf, but we've seen these cars rise up in price big time over the last 3 years. And my idea was that they kept boosting up the prices because they want to get people ready for this electric vehicle jump in price. So, yeah, I think these cars are going to be really expensive.
I think there's a couple things with it, because apparently the cost of the cafe credits was going up too, so I think there's a bit of that, and I think there's a bit of trying to get people used to what these EVs are going to cost, which is a whole nother ballgame, right? I mean, if you think about it, 80-90% of people aren't like us or the people watching this. They don't care. The car is something to get you from point A to point B. So that's, if they need a commodity vehicle, the first thing you get, like, look at the Chevy Trax. Not for me, but like, that's the best value vehicle you could buy. Like, I would not buy one, but 80% of people, sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, though, too, is like, we're both performance guys, but I have a different outlook on performance than you do. I cruise Woodward and go to car shows. You drag race. I didn't need a Hellcat. I got my 300C, and that was plenty of car for me. I just wanted that Hemi V8. You want the ultimate performance thing. You're always trying to go faster on the track. And that's the problem. We have multiple performance genres of people, and these new cars are kind of singling them out a little bit. So I'm kind of hoping that there's more in the works with the Hurricane. Like they said, there's going to be a different, more of a bigger horsepower variant coming. I'm hoping that they continue to.
I've talked to some people. I've heard they're testing like 800 horsepower versions of the car, and it makes sense. You see, the one thing that I see in the comments, and like as you said, right? The Hellcat was for me, or the Demon, or whatever. I'm the guy, right? Like that's targeted towards. I want the fastest, most powerful, tire shredding, whatever deal. And I love my V8s, but I'm 41 years old, so I'm right on that edge between the old school guys and the new school guys. And no, I have no interest in a 4-cylinder turbo Honda. I know how fast you can make them. That's fine. But an inline 6 twin turbo has so much potential, and I don't think people realize it. If you look at the new G80 M3, M4 X-Drive cars, those are a tune away from being 9-second cars. There's guys running 9s in those in the quarter mile with nothing but a tune. For me, I replaced that blue jailbreak that was in the intro video. I replaced that with an Audi RS6 Avant. It's still a V8, but it's a twin turbo V8. That car went from running 11.6 to 10.8 with nothing more than just a tune. And all the people say, "Oh, turbos are problematic." Blah 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 blah. It's not 1980 anymore. Technology's come a long way. All that's come a long way. Even you look at the EcoBoosts, they've got problems, but they're not turbo problems. They've got cam phaser problems, timing chain problems, and stuff like that. But you don't really see turbos failing. Look at every heavy-duty truck, turbo diesel truck. No one's really having issues with turbos. So turbos aren't inherently bad. The inline 6 is a fantastic engine configuration from a refinement and performance standpoint. You can make them strong. So I do see a lot of potential with this inline 6 car here. The one thing that that I noticed, the other day we were talking about performance numbers they showed. Like I said, I think the Banshee's going to absolutely fly, and it's going to hurt some feelings. The 400 volt cars, the Scat Pack, so they said it's quicker than a Red Eye, or whatever it was they said, faster than a Red Eye, 0 to 60. So it was like 3.3.
It's the same as a Red Eye, really.
Or the same, yeah.
60, yeah.
So 3.3 seconds, 0 to 60. I mean, my Red Eye on a drag radial, so I guess maybe that's not stock, but as far as my draggy goes, when I was at the racetrack, it went 0 to 60 in 2.9 and went through the quarter at like 10.6. But this car, so it's 0 to 60 in 3.3, which is faster than any current 392 car, right? But it traps 11.5, which a good driver in good conditions, in say a Challenger 1320, so you got that drag suspension, the drag radials, will run an 11.5. So that tells me the electric car's dying up top, right? They also said the top speed is 137 miles an hour. I bet you the Hurricane cars, it's going to be more like 170-ish. But yeah, with the electric, that's what's wondering me, is what that performance curve is. Like, where is it dropping off? Is there only a certain amount of time? Like, there's that power shot button, they said that gives you 15 seconds of like a 40 horsepower boost or something like that. I don't know if you saw with, like, say with the Mach-E's, with the Mach-E GTs, and Ford came out and said it after, you've got 5 seconds of full power, and then it starts pulling power back, something to do with the, like, high voltage breakers or jumpers or whatever on the battery. So I still wonder if there's something like that going on with the electric variants as well.
Well, speaking of that power shot button, I wrote to one of our Dodge reps, and I still haven't got an answer yet. So the Scat Pack, the 2024 cars, the 2024 cars, they're not what the base 2025 cars will be. They're coming with the launch models are coming with upgrades. So the RT has 496 horsepower at launch, but next year in 2025 it'll be 456 because this year it comes with a stage 1 upgrade, stage 1 upgrade from direct connection. The Scat Pack has 670 horsepower, but next year it will have 590 as standard. But my biggest thing is if these cars have the same electric motor, okay, same exact setup, they're just programmed to have different outputs. I had a question because if you look at the output of the batteries, they do 550 kilowatts. Now we're talking kilowatts to the horsepower and all this stuff. That top line car is 500 kilowatts, okay? Now they said the power shot, that 550 kilowatts is 670 horsepower. The battery can discharge at 550 kilowatts max. My question is, when you have that 670 horsepower output, when you hit that power shot button, are you getting an additional 40 horsepower like it says? Because you're maxing out that battery pack, you know what I mean? They haven't given me any idea of like if you're actually getting the true 40 horsepower additional output with that power shot with the 500 kilowatt option. So
yeah,
does it work when you have the stage 2 upgrade? I don't know. So who knows, dude? I think like these cars are all-wheel drive. They'll definitely hook up better than a Hellcat.
Oh, they'll leave.
Especially with 320. Especially with 325s in the rear, they'll definitely hook up. But the problem is like you said, top end. What is up with the top end in these cars? Because Tesla, now mind you that these are the 400 volt cars. The 800 volt's going to be the Banshee. We know the Banshee's got one target on its name. Like the whole reason why it's coming out is to target the Plaid. But the Plaid has a top speed of 203 miles an hour. These cars go against basically the Model S dual motor car, and the Model S dual motor has a higher top speed than these cars do.
Yeah, the Model S, the long range or whatever, it also runs the quarter somewhere in the tens. Like that's a fast car too. I would almost say this is more than say like a Model 3 Performance or something like that.
Yeah. So I mean, it kind of makes me wonder, and I think that's one of the reasons why they never answered me back was because they don't really want to say anything yet. But you know what's funny is when we talk about the Banshee coming up, there's one thing that I'm curious about, and if they're going to go after the Plaid, they're going to have to go after it hard. And the Plaid has a tri-motor setup. So if we look at other Stellantis products that are electric, the Gran Turismo by Maserati, that Fulgor platform or architecture, that's got a tri-motor setup. I wouldn't be surprised if the reason why they've been so quiet about the Banshee is that it's got a tri-motor setup.
I think so, because the Fulgor it's an 800 volt car too, isn't it?
Yes.
And we know how they do things where they hide it in plain sight. I'm pretty sure that powertrain is the Banshee powertrain. Yeah. The other thing too that's interesting. Sorry, go ahead. Before I take it off topic of that.
No, that's fine. I was just going to say that car again. That car, the Gran Turismo Fulgor has a top speed of 200 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So I mean, if they're going to go after the Plaid, that's what they're going to have to do. A tri-motor setup. Yeah.
Yeah. Even like the Lucid Air Sapphire, all that. I think actually, yeah. Is that a quad? No, it's a tri-motor. All the real quick electric cars are three motor setup. And then weight's going to be the other thing too, right? So from what I've heard, the Hurricane cars are about 4,300 pounds. The 400 volt cars are 5,800. I think is what was. I don't know if that's officially released or not, but I've seen that number thrown around a lot. Which is
that's what they told the media, yeah.
Which is about what I heard, and from what I was told from one of my guys is that the Banshee is going to be like 6,500 pounds.
Yeah.
So
if you're worried about road falling apart and stuff,
I'm just hoping that they hide the weight well. Right? I mean...
Well, that's just it. I mean...
I think they will. We're looking at a new platform here, and... Right? Like, I love my Challengers. I've enjoyed every one I had because what it is, it's an old school muscle car thing. But on the flip side of that, it's an old school muscle car. Like, chassis-wise, the car's a piece of crap with a big motor in it, to be honest. Like, it handles like a barge. You can get them to stick in corners, but you feel the weight and all that, right? So having a modern platform will be nice. The one thing that cracked me up, like when I got rid of mine and got the RS6, I watched some of the reviews and they have it on the track and they're like, oh, it's like a heavy car. Good thing it's got rear wheel steering, whatever. I drive that car, feels like it weighs 2,000 pounds compared to driving it like to a Challenger hard, right? So there's a lot of potential here. Do I wish that we still had a V8? Absolutely. Do they still have a potential to do something cool here? Absolutely. And I think they will do it. I mean, Kaniskis has been taking a lot of heat. It's not his fault. Like, none of this is his fault. At least, like, he's still a car guy. I don't think he likes it any more than anybody else does. You look at him, like, revealing, like, the Demon or the Demon 170, and then you look at him talking about this, you can almost see a tone shift. So, like, I don't think he likes it any more than we do, but it has to happen, unfortunately. So, I still think they're going to do some. I think they've probably got some tricks up their sleeves to show us something pretty cool.
And, you know, Stellantis powertrain, like head of powertrain, or propulsion is what they call it now, Mickey Bly, he said publicly, you know, they're working on different variants of the Hurricane. They're even going to build a drag pack with the Hurricane what they call the Cat X motor that's going to have 1,500 horsepower to compete in NHRA competition. So he said that that's not going to be the one that they're working on for more horsepower. That's just being basically a drag racing version, but they're going to work on more different variants of this engine. So it will be exciting to see what they come up with. I've heard 800 horsepower version 2. That would be awesome, and that's a pretty amazing power from a 3-liter. So
yeah,
we'll see.
It is.
Let's talk about the interior of these cars.
Yeah, so somebody just asked about that. I think it's a big leap forward from where they were, for sure. I still, so like I said before, I've had a couple Challengers. I had that Mustang GT500. I still think the previous Challenger, while the interior wasn't great, was still better than the competition. And now it looks like they've really taken it up a notch here with the new one. I don't mind the digital gauge cluster. I like that everything's like the vinyl or leather wrapped. And I like the red stitching and stuff. I may or may not have seen some interior pieces of these cars in person when I may or may not have seen bodies and whites of these cars in person. The interior is going to be a big step forward from where we are. I've got experience with Uconnect 5. You know what my experience with Uconnect 5 was. It caused me to sell my 2022 Ram Limited because it was so bad. I'm hoping they've got it sorted out. My parents haven't been complaining about it with their 2023 Grand Cherokee, so hopefully Uconnect's going to be back to being the best infotainment system in the business that it used to be. I do like the bigger screen. I do like the drive modes, right? Like, launch control is pretty cool. I don't know how that's going to work on an EV. Or is that on the Hurricane cars only, or did they specify? Because I saw they've got launch control, they've got like force rear-wheel drive mode, drift mode.
EV.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So
sounds like it's on the EV.
They're doing some cool stuff technology wise, which you have to these days. I think a lot of that's a lot of ways to work around some limitations of what they have to work with, like as far as with being an EV and stuff. The rest of it, the steering wheel, it looks nice. Kind of reminds me a little bit of my old C8. You got a little bit of a squircle there, not as squared off, right? The button placement looks nice. Switch gear all looks nice. The shifter, I think, is cool. It reminds me of an older, like, pistol grip shifter kind of deal.
Oh, yeah. I mean, overall, this interior looks nice. I just have a couple complaints with it. I mean, that's me being picky. But I hate tablets. Absolutely hate tablets. I think the digital gauge cluster would have looked better if it was, like, recessed in instead of just being a squared tablet, kind of like the Mustang, the new Mustang. I don't mind the new Uconnect 5 systems that are really wide compared to being a square. I actually like it a little bit better. That layout. But I do like the vents underneath. I think they did a really good job. The only thing that kind of distracts me from the dash is that huge pad. I told you, from the top where it says Daytona and the back recessed lighting, it's got this huge like pad area. And it just kind of looks like it's like bigger. But the seats look really nice. I do like the new seat design. Even in the RT, the new seat design looks amazing. I'm a big guy. I'm 6'1". I'm like 350. So sitting in the seats of the Challenger and stuff, I had an RT Charger. Those were super comfortable seats. I get in my 300C, and they're more bolstered. They got the Hellcat seats in them. And being a big guy, they're a little tight, but these seats look a lot more comfortable. They look like they have a lot more upper bolster than lower bolster to them. Yeah. So that I kind of like that. But I do like the design of, like, the center console looks super sharp. I'm not a huge fan of the door panels. That's another thing. They look okay. I do like how they put the controls for the windows on, like, an angle. And I do like how the actual layout of the instrument panel is more driver oriented. So it's tilt. Yeah. So, but there's just a few things like I'm nitpicky at. I really don't like. You said you like the steering wheel design because it's like kind of like your C8. I'm not a huge fan of that squared top. I'm not a huge fan of it. I do like the flat bottom, but I don't know. I'll get used to it, I guess. I think the biggest problem, Jared, is a lot of people are just so used to 20 years of the same car that we kind of, like, it's hard for us to adapt to new stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
People you get what I'm saying? Like,
people are really generally resistant to change. And, like, at the end of the day, things can't stay the same forever. The Challenger is almost an anomaly. The fact that it increased in sales year over year, being that old of a car, that doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. That doesn't happen, right? And maybe part of it was, people knew it was coming to an end. But things change. This car, the people that say it doesn't look like a muscle car, I don't know where that's coming from. Because you've got this hip line here, looks like it's right off a 69 Charger. You've got the same with the front end, with the R-Wing, like the opening, just like a 69 Charger. Like, it gives me 69 Charger vibes, but while being a modern vehicle. And yeah, it's going to bring more people into the brand. Unfortunately, you know what? A lot of the people that are the diehard, give me my carbureted V8, blah, 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 1969 Charger that was the fastest thing on the world, that would annihilate any car today, but realistically would get blown away by a Nissan Altima. Like, they're getting old too, right? And they've got to go after a younger demographic. They're opening themselves to a new market here, right? And I think business-wise, you don't want to alienate your customers, right? But you always want to grow. If you're making changes and picking up more than what you're alienating, then that usually scores as a win, right?
Well, with this car, it's funny. People complain all the time that the Challenger was a big boat. Okay, it's a huge car compared to a Mustang and a Camaro. It had a huge footprint, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of people complain that when they own Mustangs and stuff, that the back seat was unusable. I had a 2014 Mustang convertible, and my kids could barely fit in it, and they're what, 14 and 12. I mean, and they're skinny as can be, and they could barely fit in the back. The Challenger was a usable everyday muscle car. You could put 4 adults in it, no problem, and have room. I mean, It was tight in the back and with headroom, but I could fit in the back. The new car has the same wheelbase as the sedan. So we're going from a 116-inch wheelbase to 121. And I haven't sat in the back, obviously, of the new coupe, but I guarantee there's more legroom in the back. So
for sure.
I'm looking forward to it. I think it will be a lot. I think a lot more people will be like, once they get into the coupe, I think they'll be seeing like, hey, I can actually fit adults in the back. I think it'll be more accessible than ever for people to buy a coupe. I think the coupe looks great. I like the 4-door. I know you don't like the 4-door so much, just because you like, the 2-door look. But I think the 4-door looks really good.
I'm gonna pull the 4-door up on the screen here. Sorry, I hope I don't give anybody a seizure going through these pictures. There we go. The 4-door.
I have to let. Yeah, I was going to say, Snow Monkey here says, "Where are the scallops?"
Yeah,
and
you
I think
said that
you
last
and I
week.
both said that this car was better. Yeah.
Yeah. The 4-door. See, to me, it just looks almost a little bland on the rear 3/4, like right around here. I'm just not sure. I don't know. I might feel completely different seeing it in person too, right? Just the initial photos. There's just something about the 4-door that doesn't sit right with me. I agree. I think the scallop in the door, something to tie it. They definitely went very far away from the last generation cars with these. Like, there is nothing like carryover design wise.
So
There's nothing that ties in.
I owned a 2014 Charger. You drove it. There's not much of a difference really between the 2014 and 15, except for like the door scallops were a little more angular. They changed the rear design and the front design of it, but the interior layout and everything's the same. But my 14, the rear end of it, when I look at this car, how the trunk lines, like how there's not a trunk on this one, it's a hatch, but how the trunk lines on my 14 went around with the headlights and that rear quarter reminds me a lot of the 14.
Yeah. Because they rounded that off a bit with the 15s, right? Or at least it seemed like it.
They made it more. Yep.
Where's
so I see a lot of my
that?
14, like 11 to 14 car in it. I do like it. I mean, I like that 4-door. The weird thing is like, the scallops are missing. I think it would look a lot better. I think it would have looked cooler if they would have put dual little scallops in it, like a 69 Charger.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, if you look at the coupe, when people looking at the front, you see a lot of 1969 Charger, and that's just because of where the Fratzog is in the R-wing. It kind of splits up the grille. But if you look at the back of this car, it looks a lot like a 66 Charger, 66, 67 Charger. There's a lot of like how the hatchback line goes. There's a lot of design from the 66 and 67 cars in this body style. So, I mean, it's kind of a mix match of a lot of the first B-body cars. So, it's something different. I think like I said, I think it looks. We haven't seen the sedan in person yet.
No.
I'm still kind of holding out a little bit for my final judgment to actually see the sedan. And honestly, if I was going to buy one of these cars because I have kids and stuff, I would opt for the 6-pack sedan. Yeah. See, you pull up the '99 Concept.
Yeah. I'm trying to.
That's my favorite car ever designed. So
what I want to do here Because even if you go side by side, it still has that same body line through, right? Now, if they would have went and carried that body line into the front door to do the scallop, like they did,
yeah,
that would have been a nice design. But the rear end is squared off in a similar kind of way. It still has the same hips over the C-pillar as the 99 car. It's funny because we've been told that for years. So it's obviously something that they decided was a staple from the 99 concept that they wanted to keep. Because when the new Charger that got canned, that was already designed, was being done, we were told by a lot of people, oh yeah, the 99 car reminds me a lot of the 99 car, especially the rear end. That car got completely scrapped. This new one is different, but you still have that body line.
Can you pull up a 99 RT concept side view of the car?
Yeah.
And then pull up the side view of the car? Because that 99 concept, what stood out about that was the hood and how low profile that hood was. And this concept car shows a lot of that too. Especially with the R-wing design, with the hood going low in the front.
Yeah. I think this might be as good as I get to a side view. Oh, that's tiny.
There should be a couple. If you can't, I'm not worried about it. But there's
oh, here we go.
There should be one. If you type in, yep. See if you can pull up one of the new cars with it. But yeah, if you look at the fronts, how they're kind of shaped over the front wheels, they kind of do the same thing. So
yeah.
If they keep that orange color for 2025, that peel out color, yeah, it's a short car. That peel out color probably will be out in 2025. Just to let you know. So they've showed it on the sedan. Like the pictures of the 2025 sedan, so it'll probably be out there.
It's
on. But yeah, if you look, if you take and if you drag the front down a little bit, so we can see the front of the new car.
Oh yeah.
Just because it's over, I'm sitting over it. If you look at the front of the new car, you can see how it's kind of sloped from the A-pillar down, and it's very similar, except for you have that more squared off grille.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I like the new car. Like I said, the new sedan is great, I think, from pictures. But how many times have we seen cars that look good in picture and they look terrible in person, and then vice versa? You and I have said a lot, like, oh man, that car looks terrible in pictures. And then we see it in person and a lot different.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I agree.
But I think it looks good. My biggest concern, though, is price.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to know how, like, I live in Michigan, so obviously I like the fact that the internal combustion engines have standard all-wheel drive. Dodge says that you're going to be able to push a button and make it into a rear-wheel drive car. I did the same exact thing with my Taser on my Charger. I could run it on rear-wheel drive 99% of the time, and when snow hit, change it into all-wheel drive. So I think that will be fine. I don't have a problem with that at all. But I'm just curious to know how much these cars are going to cost. I seriously, if this has got SIXPACK performance, they're going to have to come out with something cheaper, because you're eliminating everybody from the $28,000 price range to $40,000.
Yeah.
And that's their big sellers, because how many people buy GT cars?
I think,
now. So
I think what we'll see in the future, I bet you're going to see like a single motor rear wheel drive GT electric within the next couple of years. Because they're going to have to do something. Pricing is they sold a lot of GTs, so they're not going to start with the RT. They're going to have to do something price-wise. So I imagine they're going to do something like that. And I think the ICE cars are going to be cheaper than the EVs, to be honest. Like a Hurricane HO or standard output, if you're looking at a four-door, will be cheaper than the electrics for sure. Which brings me to another point. Why not offer the high output Hurricane in the four-door? There's a lot of... I'm not a Charger guy, right? But there's a lot of people that are. Why do they get starved of the high output Hurricane?
That's a good question. I don't know. I think it might be because it's coming down the road, you know?
Yeah.
One thing is I just wrote about it the other day. Dodge hasn't said anything about law enforcement agencies having these cars. And we know that there's going to be a lot of people that are interested in the internal combustion cars for law enforcement.
Yeah.
So with 550 horsepower pursuit models, that would be awesome. I'm sure that Dodge is working on something. I had a couple questions about how they're going to make a pursuit model work because you have a hatch design now. So you're going to have to develop a whole different panel to keep, criminals or perps out of the back of the car. Because you can turn around
there'll
and
have to be like a firewall between the rear seat and the rest of the hatch area.
Yeah. Yep. So, but I'm sure law agencies would love a 550 horsepower highway pursuit model. I'm sure they're working on something. I'm sure they're just teasing for right now. They didn't. I mean, we got another year for these cars to come out. What I don't understand is 2024. Why are they introducing the two-door electric versions first? To me, I would want the internal combustion sedans first. Because that's my market right now. So, I don't know. They're doing a lot of weird things right now with how they're marketing the cars and stuff. I don't know. It's hard to describe.
It could be production ramp, too. They might be okay with having less sales while they ramp everything up, right? Because they are going to be built in Windsor along the minivan, so maybe they're trying to figure that part out too, right? As far as production timing, so keeping it low could be okay there. What was I going to say? I do agree that I think that their messaging around these cars has been weird for the past 2 years. I'm surprised they went and took it on the chin.
True.
With everything for the last 2 years that they did, without saying, okay, we're gonna do maybe a Hurricane model. Because when they showed the Banshee, they're kind of just like, here you go, this is it. You just showed a room full of petro heads, everything, that, hey, we're making a Tesla with a different body on it, and then took it on the chin for 2 years when you knew you were going to do the Hurricane. So, I don't know, you'd think they'd want to get out in front of that, but they haven't, right? So, it's kind of surprising that way.
Instead, they went quiet for a year and a half without saying anything about any of the car.
Yeah.
So, I don't get that.
The Snowmonk
says,
what
question.
transmission will they have in the inline 6 Hurricane? I think it's still the 8 HP 75.
Correct. Yep, it still is. So it's the same exact transmission that's in the Scat Pack now.
Yeah. Which is fine. That's a great transmission.
What else?
I like it. I've had Fords with their 10-speed auto, and their 10-speed is miserable compared to the ZF8.
Let's see here. How about a short wheelbase Challenger using a shorter and modified version of the same platform? That would be a great idea.
Yeah.
We know that the Alfa Romeo is going to use the Stella Large. They're going to be a smaller wheelbase car. It would be great to have something on that dimensions. If you've ever driven a Giulia, a lot of people bash Alfa Romeo and the Giulia cars. The Giulia car it's more compact. It's a segment down from the Charger, but it's actually a great car to drive. A lot of fun.
I've purposely not driven
the infotainment system on it.
Yeah. I've purposely not driven a Giulia because I figured if I drove a Giulia Quadrifoglio that I would have a new car in my driveway, and that would be very bad for everybody.
Well, I had that Stelvio Quadrifoglio as a press car.
Yeah.
And I loved that thing. That thing had tons of power. The third day I had it, had electrical malfunction, and they had to come tow it. The mirrors wouldn't come out. All the warning lights were on. It wouldn't start. That's the only problem I had with Alfa is it's typical Italian electronics.
Yeah, that's why I don't have one.
Giulia's a cool car.
Yeah.
So the Giulia is a cool car. But so if they could build something like a 2-door on that, or even a 4-door, build like a Dodge Avenger mid-size sedan, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
So I'd love to see it like something like with a Hurricane 4 in it.
That's one thing that
the problem.
It could be a possibility because you're now starting to see a resurgence of sedans with this electric stuff because they're more efficient than an SUV by nature, right? So when it really matters, like when you're driving an electric vehicle, you're starting to see a resurgence of sedans. Maybe we do get lucky and they go, okay, here's a mid-sized coupe and sedan, right?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, and the thing is like Christine Fuel, who's the Chrysler CEO, she even said that she likely sees a sedan being the way to go for these electric cars in the future for Chrysler. So they haven't denied that they're not going to build a future sedan.
Yeah,
but Chrysler's been all over the place with product. They haven't built anything since 2017. So
yeah, and that's where I would actually. I'll take a second and clarify that for a second too, because I put out a video. I was pretty hard on the Halcyon concept. I don't have an issue with the car itself. The problem is like that's nowhere near ready for production. Like just when you don't have anything in the showroom, just freaking come out with something, please. Like. From what I've seen and heard, crossover is going to be the first one. So let's get that out. Let's get that done. And then let's get a couple other cars into the market. And then let's worry about cars that are 10 to 15 years away.
Not to get off the topic, but that airflow concept, I've seen that car at how many different shows? I've seen it at least 4 times in public, like in person.
Yeah.
And it's not the most attractive. It wasn't the most attractive car, but it looked better than a Model Y. And it was production ready. The steering wheel had the same buttons that a production model would have. They spent all this money on developing that stupid thing to cancel it, and it looked good. It looked fine. It looked like a Chrysler.
Yeah.
It was on the Stella Large platform. It was ready to go.
I think it was nothing.
That's what.
It was nothing that blows you away looks-wise, but I think it was a handsome vehicle. It looked good. It looked right for the class. It looked like it could have been in production already. Yeah. It's been 2 years.
It would have been,
like, let's just do it.
And it would have been a great entry level into an all-electric portfolio. You could take and redesign like a mid MCA or mid lifespan refresh down the road, but they need product bad. That brand is. Everybody says it's dying. It's not dying. It's just I don't think Christine Fuel and the product planners at the Chrysler brand know what they're doing. The Chrysler design team have designed some amazing stuff. I don't think the Halcyon was what anybody expected. It doesn't look like a Chrysler. So, but to get back on the Charger, this is exactly what we thought a Charger would look like. So, I mean, the design studios are right next to each other. So there shouldn't be any... The problem is the Chrysler brand doesn't have a vision of where the products are going to go.
Yeah.
But Snowmonk says here, I wonder what the all-wheel drive T case will be then. Is it based on the same 5.7 as the current Pursuit models get? Yes, it probably will be the same exact transfer case. We know it's got electronic disconnect because that's how it's going to put itself in the two-wheel drive. So I guarantee it's going to be the same system. Chrysler will try to use as many carryover parts as possible to save development money. And
that
their
transfer case, though, that's
all-wheel
behind
drive
the
systems and their
5-speed.
Chargers and 300s were... Yeah, but they have the ones that are for the 8 speeds. Like well, I guess they had them in the
I'm not
GTs.
saying it can't be, because they can change the bolt pattern if the bolt pattern needs to be changed.
Well, yeah, you're right. Because if you go back to 2015, you're right. Because at the SEMA show, they showed off the Challenger GT concept, and they had a 5.7 in it. And that they put an 8-speed in that car, and it was a different transfer case.
Yeah.
I'll have to look that up because I know they put it was all-wheel drive. So
Yeah.
arcane wing, gimmicky, fake exhaust, fake body shape features. Yeah,
I'll
Dave, you're
pass.
totally right. So Dave's a good buddy of mine. I don't know. I laugh because they're trying to simulate an internal combustion engine, and my idea is no matter what, it's not going to be the same thing. But
No.
how much money in development are you putting in these cars just to raise the price up? So I don't know.
At the same time,
I think it's kind of a joke that way.
At the same time, I think, yeah, okay, that stuff's gimmicks. But maybe it helps with the transition for people. I don't know, right? When I knew that we were going this whole electric thing, I bought a Model 3 to try it out, just to see what it was like living with an electric car. And I will say, for the non-enthusiast, it's probably the best thing that you could buy, as long as you're not planning on going through cross-country road trips, right? But there's zero emotion to it. So, I mean, we could sit here fake body shake and all that. It's like, I could compare it to some stuff that I'm not going to say on a live stream. But it's at least transitionary, trying to help keep some of that feeling. At least they're trying something. You're not just sitting in a freaking space shuttle. I don't know. It's one of those, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, right? At least it sets them apart a little bit.
Well,
And Anthony, I agree with what Anthony says, is we just need the platform, but the manufacturing and engineering of everything else should be done in North America. I don't disagree with that at all.
Well, going back to Tesla, when you had your Model 3, I think you had more fun with the gimmick side of it. And I think that's what Dodge is going for with this. Like,
100%.
It's
I'm a big kid,
to
right?
kind of get people in to see how interesting. Because
Absolutely.
I remember somebody calling me on Facebook saying, "Hey, my car sounds like George Jetson's car. I uploaded an MP3 to it, and you're driving around going, woo woo."
Yeah. I mean, I like tech. I'm a tech guy, so at least, like, that's what I'm saying. When you take the emotion out of the car, at least give somebody back for something, right? Like, at least my horn made cool sounds, and the car sounds like a Jetsons thing. I even uploaded a Hellcat sound to it and cruised through a parking lot while it was going wah, wah. So, I mean, whatever. At least there's that.
But the thing I'll give Tesla is, all right, so you're going to be at these charging stations all the time. Elon's team is they're not car engineers. They're software engineers.
Oh, yeah.
So they come up with some really cool ideas. Video games, you can watch stuff on the screen. These cars don't have any of that. And instead, you're going to be walking around looking for fast food places, where in a Tesla, you can stay pretty occupied watching TV and playing games. Like, you can play little games with the steering wheel. I mean, it sounds stupid, but if you're putting tech in these cars, this is the kind of stuff I would rather see than my seats shake because it makes it sound like or feel like a V8. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, no, I don't disagree. I don't know. There's an ass for every seat, right? Everybody wants something different, so I think they're just trying to cover as many of their bases as they can here.
Yeah.
But who knows? So
what's some other question?
I fear all the connected technology these new models will have, all the new systems, new sensors. This will be a Christmas tree of errors and faults in 2 years. No repairing it. Yeah, I don't know if you saw the video on my blue red eye talking about Christmas trees of errors, but that does worry me a little bit as well. And then, I mean, with the Hurricane versions, you're going to be able to tune them. So I was going to say with the interfering with tuning, especially if the car's uploading information back to Mother Russia every night when you're charging it. But, yeah, who knows?
My biggest complaint is with all these systems is if you look at, like, for example, the new 4xe Jeeps, they've had tons of recalls. Wrangler 4xEs and Grand Cherokee 4xEs on everything. Battery packs, there's a lawsuit going on in U.S. District Court here in Detroit because people are complaining that their battery packs are catching fire. I mean, there's always tons of recalls with these with more electronic stuff. You're going to have way more recalls and stuff like that. Honestly, and this is not me like telling you that you should do this. I'm not a person to go out and rush and buy something as soon as it comes out.
Yeah.
Again, Tesla has been notorious for stuff like this over the years. They dump something out like the Cybertruck right now, and they're having tons of problems with it. But they use people as kind of like a fast feedback kind of thing.
Yeah,
I hope to God Stellantis doesn't do that. Yeah, and I hope to God Stellantis doesn't do that. I know we get ticked that, they're not producing product fast enough. My biggest problem with Stellantis is the quality. They've won quality awards over the years, but there is tons of quality issues that they've continued to have that are simple and stupid. And instead of rushing product out, I would rather see them take an extra month or so and fine-tune it before it comes out to dealers. So.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I haven't had a whole lot of good luck with them, which is, I probably think that's probably why their media team doesn't talk to us too much. I think it's either that or one other thing that I've got in mind, but I mean, I also know people that haven't had any issues. I have been unlucky. I think, what have I bought? 14 Stellantis/FCA vehicles since 2016, and 2 haven't had to go back to the dealer for problems. Never mind fairly major stuff. But at the same time, I'm like, I get the complete opposite experience of everybody else, apparently, because so I just went and bought a 2024 Sierra 3500 Duramax. I'm on those forums, and everybody's talking about how these things are the biggest piles of crap, non-stop issues, check engine lights, and here I am like, wow, I bought a truck that doesn't have to go back to the dealer. This is amazing. So I just have the opposite experience of everybody else, it seems.
Well, and then look at our cars. Like, so I ordered my 2023 300C. You ordered your Hellcat Red Eye Jailbreak. They were built, within a month of each other, right? You actually got to go see your car be built. Yeah. You looked everybody on the line there. Yeah. Never had an issue.
Nope.
With anybody there. You get your car after I got mine, because yours was stuck on rail cars, and mine came within like a week after I ordered it and it was built. Or not ordered it, but after it was built. It was like a week and a half and I got it. Yeah. And my car is flawless. My dash has perfect seams. There's nothing wrong with the paint. You had your 1320 in it. It had terrible paint drips and stuff all over the bottom of the car. Yeah, it had clear coat. I looked all over my 300. I could not find anything wrong with my 300. Knock on wood. I mean, I've had excellent build quality in that car. I'm super impressed. It's even better than my Charger was. But your Red Eye it's just one of those things where you're going to get, once in a while, you're going to get a car that's just a lemon.
Yeah,
And,
I'm the one that gets it for everybody else.
The problem. But the thing is I think that, you've had 2 bad experiences with Challengers.
Yeah.
And that's the funny part, because
I've owned 4. And
well,
I mean, I would say the one that I currently own is a bad experience too. This car's a giant pain in my ass, but it's a used, highly modified car, so I can't blame Dodge for that. None of it's Dodge's fault. But yeah, I've had 2 that I bought brand new that were not a good experience, and one that I bought brand new that was a good experience, but at the same time I only had it for a month because then that GT500 came up.
But the thing is, Jared, you're a car enthusiast. You're a perfectionist, kind of like me. I like having my things immaculate and everything.
Yeah.
But when you get something like that, how pissed off were you? And you're like, you told me, like, dude, I don't even know if I want this car. You're like, I don't even know if I want it. Like, I'm thinking about taking it back.
Oh, with the blue red?
Because if it doesn't
just
come perfect the way you ordered it, yeah.
Well, yeah, I didn't want all the wiring being stripped out and the whole car being taken apart, trying to figure it out. Like, you just, and that's the thing too. I am a perfectionist, but I also have like an eye. It's ridiculous. I've been with people, and even people that do quality control as a job, and they've laughed when I'll be watching a video and I'll point something. I'm like, why is that like that? Or walking through a parking lot, I'm like, that's mismatched, without even actually looking at the vehicle. Like, I just see everything. It sucks. I hate it because it makes it really hard to just enjoy stuff.
And you know what the sad thing is? There's a lot of people out there that are like that. And once you have a bad experience, it changes your whole outlook. That GT500, even though it is a Ford, that I think you had out of all the cars you've owned, and since I've known you, that was probably the one that you enjoyed the most, and I never heard you complain anything about that car. You mean petty stuff, but you never complained about that car at all.
No, the car was great.
And that was a good ownership experience.
Yeah.
And that was a good ownership experience.
Oh, 100%.
So that's what I'm saying. I love my 300 mainly because of how good the ownership experience has been. So yeah, ownership experience about owning something that you specifically, if it's something that you ordered to what you want, it goes a long way. And I'd rather see quality. And I think that's the thing that's been affecting Dodge and Chrysler and Jeep and all them for years is, we're just going to throw stuff together and put it out there. And it just wrecks it for everybody. And that's the thing. I'd rather have them come out with, if they're coming out with slow product like they are now, and the quality is excellent, like Honda level. Yeah. Because we talk about Honda. Honda doesn't build anything super high performance, super exciting. Honda, my dad and my mom have both owned Hondas over the years, Accords. My dad has an Accord turbo right now.
Yeah.
And he loves that stupid thing. It's got 90,000 miles on it. He's never had a problem with it. And that's why he bought it. It gets good gas mileage and it's reliable. It's not a performance car. It's got really good quality, and he drives a long distance for work. And, I mean, if they could do that, people wouldn't be complaining about these muscle cars and stuff the way they are. It's just, when you get into all this high-tech electronics and stuff, people are worried, like, oh, man, something's going to go wrong, and then I'm going to have to shell out more money, or what happens if it's down and I don't have, a car? I went to the dealer the other day, and Jared knows this story. I bought my wife a 2020 Jeep Renegade. I bought her a 2014 Mustang convertible over the summer, just as a fun summer car. And some lady, we had it for like 3 months. It was really low miles. It was a beautiful, beautiful Mustang Club of America edition car. And some lady T-boned her and totaled it out. So my wife was all upset. So I bought her a Jeep Renegade with the My Sky system. And we went to go test drive it, and I went to open up the sunroof, and it stuck open. And it wouldn't shut. And it was all covered under warranty. The thing only had 20,000 miles on it. So I told them, I'll buy it, but you have to fix it. So they shut the sunroof. They gave it to me. I had to wait for parts for 2 months. The day before I went to go get parts, all of a sudden the car wouldn't shut off. And I'm like, what the heck? It went through this whole thing. You had to go through the display and all this stuff about how to shut it off. So the next day I take it to the dealer and I'm like, hey, you got to do this and this and this and this to shut the stupid thing off. They're like, oh yeah, we've seen this all the time. They knew right what it was. They're like, oh yeah, you're gonna need a new push button start. Okay. Yeah. I still had to wait 2 weeks for that. They gave me a piece of junk rental car. I mean, and the quality at the dealer itself, I didn't have a good response. Like, they told me come pick up the car. It was dirty. Somebody had drove it 50 miles and left it on an empty tank. You know, and all this stuff, like, they left pop cans in the car, which was hilarious. They left a Pepsi can on the seat and in the center console, and my car's filthy. And I told my wife, I said, let them clean it up. She's like, I don't want to waste time. Well, that just wrecked my experience from the dealer. Do I want to go back to that dealer? No. And
that's the thing too, like, right? Dealer experience plays a huge part of it. If you have like some minor issues and your dealer experience is great, it's a whole different ballgame than having issues and having a dealer treat you like crap, too, right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing that worries me with all this technology and all these electronics and all these new cars, is the weird problems now that you're starting to see. So I bought my parents a 2023 Grand Cherokee Overland, not a 4x8, just the 3.6, in September.
Yeah.
A week after they had it, the car's dead. Won't start. Battery's completely dead. Battery won't take a charge. Finally took a charge. I told my dad, I said, just leave the battery charger on it for like 9 hours. Then it would finally start. They got it to the dealer, drove it down to the dealer. They check it, take a close look. Luckily, one of my friends runs the service department there, or on the service tower. And they go, oh, yeah, no, checked it, battery, everything's fine. Just send it back. He said, look, the guy's not an idiot. If the car wouldn't start because the battery was dead, the car wouldn't start because something's going on. Well, we checked it, it's fine. He pushed them to go look at it. You know what they found out? There's the main battery, right? Your big 12 volt, and then there's like the small aux battery, which runs like the start-stop system and all that. And apparently now some of these new electronic systems run off the stop-start battery, which doesn't make any damn sense because it's smaller than the big battery. But there was something faulty with the auxiliary battery that would drain the main battery that would allow the thing not to charge. So luckily, I knew a guy there that pushed them to look into it more, but it was close to another experience of, okay, yeah, everything's fine, I don't know, where the vehicle would have not started again in a few days after that. So that's this technology stuff. I agree. A slow rollout, making sure everything's well tested is a way to go. Like, just come out shooting for quality. You've been slow enough releasing stuff as it is. If you want to take another couple months to make sure that the thing's built right, then do that.
Yeah, I mean, when you have portfolios that are still raking in cash, I mean, right now it's a little different because nobody's buying cars right now. I mean, nobody's buying cars just because of inflation and high interest rates and all these dealer markups and stuff. But like right now, if you want to get people back on your side, build reliable products. People will come back. And I'd rather see, especially with all the electronics, make sure it's done right. Because, like I said, if you look back through our Mopar Insider's website and click on the recall button at the top of the page, you'd be shocked at how many 4xe products have been recalled over the last year. There's another recall that I'm posting tomorrow for steering knuckles for Jeep Grand Cherokees. So there's tons and tons of like products that are rushed, and it's just, I'm sure people out there don't want to be at the dealer with recalls and stuff nonstop either. So
yeah, and the other thing though too that plays into it, and I don't know if it's something a lot of people understand, and I'm curious to see how it's going to go with these electric cars now too, is the manufacturer doesn't really make a lot of parts that are actually in your vehicle. Right? Now, like typically they'll make the engine, transmission, Chrysler's been buying theirs from ZF for years, which makes sense. So do a lot of people. But like they assemble the body, the engine. Usually your instrument panels, the IPs, that all comes from a supplier. Seats come from a supplier. Wiring harnesses come from a supplier. This, that, and the other. So a lot of it comes down to that as well, too, right? Utilizing the right suppliers, paying them
and
fairly.
Really, the only thing that the automakers make are, and some of them don't even make them, are mostly the panels.
Yeah.
Your chassis, your frame and stuff. That the stamping plants do that. I know, like here in Michigan, Tower Automotive does a lot for the Grand Cherokee, and they're not part of Stellantis, and yet Stellantis has a stamping plant right by the plant. So it just depends. There's so many suppliers. There's hundreds and hundreds of suppliers, and if you look back at when we do like recall reports on the website, I usually lay out like a chronological of like what they did to like research the problem, and they'll say we looked through, supplier reports to find out what exact problems there were. So I mean, there's tons and tons of suppliers out there. So yeah, but the problem that the people see is once those products, all those supplier manufactured parts are together, and it's sitting on a dealer, it's a Chrysler product or a Dodge 100%. Product.
And I'm not saying it's not. So I think a lot of it comes down to how you treat your suppliers too. Because I've seen suppliers go out and say pretty much Stellantis is the worst to work with because they nickel and dime the hell out of you and everything. And then you get that back in quality, right? Like if you say you're a landscaper and you got one boss that pays you $40 an hour and leaves you alone to do your job, and you got another one that pays you $20 an hour and sits there and whips you, I mean, where are you going to do a better job? Right?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. But again, if they go through and they validate all these products together and not rush things on the line and stuff and make sure that everything's doing good. We know, like right now, the new LB cars, the Charger and that, they've been running these pilot cars for a while now. They're only building a couple a day, and they're trying to make sure that the build quality is ramped up good. So, I mean, I like hearing things like that. Yeah. I don't want to hear that, oh, hey, we got the lineup and the cars are being built within a month. I want to see that these pilot ones are going. It's funny because the Charger, Jared knows this, I never posted it on the website, but I seen one of the new Charger Daytonas being towed back to Chrysler the other day. Yeah. It was the exact same one that we seen in the reveal photos, like the actual teaser shots. It's the same exact one, same license plate, same everything. It was being towed. I took a picture of it. It's on a flatbed, and who knows what's wrong with that. So, I mean, they're going to build them, they're going to test them, and I don't care if they come out a little bit longer as long as the build quality is good. So,
yeah.
Every single auto supplier is junk.
It's not wrong.
I wouldn't say every, but there's a lot of them that. The problem is like nowadays with cost of expenses and everything, it's hard to find good help. And like the thing that was plaguing Stellantis, especially during like right after COVID, was their plants would get COVID and everybody would be like, I don't want to work. So they were running all these temps, and they were shutting down the lines all the time because they didn't have enough workers. And people were like, I don't care. I want to get the hell out of here. I don't want to work. So, I mean, when you have like suppliers that are doing the same thing or not enough, if you're not building enough and the suppliers are constantly down, do you think your employees are going to be wanting to go back to work and being laid off all the time? No. It goes full circle. It doesn't matter if it's the manufacturer or the suppliers. So, like Jared said, you could pay somebody $20 and whip them to death, and you're not going to get any better product. So, GM going through a bunch of software-related issues with their trucks. Yeah, GM's going through a ton of stuff right now. The yesterday was the first day that they opened up Blazer EV sales again. That had been closed for a month.
Yeah. For a month or a little more. Yeah. Funny enough, so when I bought my current truck in November, it was kind of a funny deal because I was friends with the salesman and I wanted more for... Before that, I had a Sierra Denali Ultimate, 2022, the refresh one. And I wanted more for my trade than they wanted to pay. My buddy who's a salesman just happened to have a customer that called him up that said, I want to use Sierra Denali Ultimate Diesel. So I was like, perfect. Here we go. So he called me, said I could probably get you more for your truck. If it's going to be an in and out, we're going to sell it to this guy, whatever. Then we can give you more money for it. Then you can come get your new truck. So I said, okay, fine. What do you want me to do? He said, just get it cleaned up and drop it off, and I'll give you something to drive. This was back in November. The Blazer EV wasn't on sale yet, but they had one as like a demo model in their store. So I dropped my truck off, and they say, here you go, drive this Blazer EV for a week while we deal with this. And my God, that thing, I didn't have any issues with it to the point where people are talking about, but I mean, the whole climate control strip was dead. You had to use the touch screens. Like, the buttons didn't light up. They didn't do anything. Knobs didn't do anything. The seat was uncomfortable as hell. Yeah, GM's having a hard time with their EV stuff right now. I've heard a lot of stuff, so hopefully they're getting it figured out.
Well, Jared got me on this kick about 2-3 years ago. Every time a new vehicle comes out, Jared has to put a reservation in, and
yeah,
his idea is either he's going to drive it for a while or flip it, or he's going to flip it. He's like a master when it comes to, I'm going to buy something and then 2 months later I'm going to flip it, and he actually comes out okay most of the time.
Yeah, I've lost my ass the last couple times.
I'm ordering. But he's like, hey, like I'm gonna. He put an order in for us. Well, you did a Lightning.
I did
a Lightning. Almost got it.
I would have taken it if Ford didn't go and strip everything out of the Platinum Lightning, turning it into basically an XLT with leather, and then jack the price $20,000 Canadian. So I told them that they can shove that where the sun don't shine. The reason I was going to do that was because I moved like an hour and 15-minute drive away from work, so I wanted to save on the fuel. So the Lightning seemed okay to me at that point. And I think I dodged a bullet by not taking it because holy crap.
So you got that thing built into my head like, hey, maybe I should put a reservation in for all these new products and turn around and sell them. So all of a sudden GM comes out with a Silverado EV, and I'm like, ugh, it's kind of ugly. Looks like an Avalanche from the side. The side don't look bad, but the front looks terrible. So I'm like, oh, God. Okay, I'll put $100 down on it. Well, I looked at it. I'm like, I'll buy a base model one for $40,000. It said $39,900. I'm like, yeah, no problem. So I've been waiting for almost 2 years now. And
yeah, over 2 years.
6 months after they announced it. Yeah, 6 months after they announced it, they're like, oh, the base model is now going to be $72,000. I'm like, screw that.
Yeah. There's been a big thing, especially with this electric stuff, of
I really just got my refund back. Oh, yeah.
Guessing
but
prices
I do
wrong
have,
or whatever.
I did the same thing for the Ram. I did the same thing for the Ram Rev. I put an order in for that, and I could care less about electric. And I thought, yeah, it'll be cool for 5th gen Rams if I get it in that. But I mean, I could probably afford a tradesman. But dude, these electric prices are just crazy. I don't.
Yeah,
I'm waiting to see what Ram Charger has.
It's funny because it either goes to show how the reservation thing, just how long that it takes, or really illustrates the problem that I have. Because since I reserved a Silverado EV RST First Edition the same day you ordered yours, or reserved yours 2 years ago in January,
yep.
And I've bought 2 trucks since then, and they're still low. I still haven't even got a phone call yet. Hey, do you want to come order your Silverado EV? I'm not going to. I'm going to keep my 1-ton diesel because I'm going to need that to tow our race car around from track to track as we finish the build up with that. So an electric truck's not going to work for me anyway. But it's crazy how they're almost like Kickstarter campaigns what these companies are doing now. Like, hey, here's this product. If we get 100,000 people to give us $100, it's a free loan, essentially, until we get the product to market. Right? I don't like the way that that's going. I can't remember whether I put money down on Ram Rev or not. I don't even remember.
I don't think you did.
I don't think so.
I don't think you did. I did because it was refundable. But, I mean, they said, the thing cracked me up. It said, hey, we're going to do an insider thing where you can come test drive the truck and all this stuff. They posted one thing, and it was the week of the Detroit Auto Show last week. They're like, hey, we'll let you come see the truck free of charge. We'll buy your tickets for the auto show. I was there for the press event, so it didn't really matter to me. So they haven't really said anything about the truck at all. So it's some insider club that they have. But I was really shocked that they didn't do something like that for the Charger. I really was. I figured that the first year it would be like a very limited run, and they were like reservations only, but they haven't done that. So I was pretty shocked about that.
Yeah.
It sounds like we're just going to see them hit dealers and see what dealers mark them up as. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's the process. Is brutal.
So we'll see how much dealers mark up these cars because it's funny. I have to laugh because, 2 years ago, right after COVID, you and I both talked about how dealers had nothing. And being in Detroit, our dealers are a heck of a lot bigger than your guys' dealers are up there. But when you were at the dealership there was hardly any products on your lot, and you get them way longer than, it takes way longer to get product than we do. And there was nothing on our lots here.
It's
now
brutal.
Lots are full. Nobody's buying them. And for how much Dodge marketed these last call models, and dealers were charging all these upcharges for them.
Yeah.
You can walk into a dealer right now and get a Super Bee, a Swinger, whatever you want, because they're still available. And the problem is these dealers had such big markups on them, they're realizing they're doing anything to sell cars right now. One dealer, I go on cars.com a lot and look at local sales. One dealer in, I think it's Ohio, had a Super Bee. One of the, that's the car I originally thought would be really cool, was a Super Bee, last call model. And the sticker on that car was like 65,000, something like that. Yeah. And they had it marked up to 80 something. Like they put $3,000 on it, right? The car's been on the lot for 290 days or something like that, almost a full year. And they're finally coming down to MSRP because they can't sell it.
Yeah, it's insane. It's funny seeing swingers and this and that and shakedowns still on the lots because thankfully it seems like a lot of people figured out it's a freaking sticker package and it's not worth paying $30,000 more than a regular Scat Pack because it's got some stickers on it because a dealer wanted to mark it up. Yeah, it's a lot of it. I think the dealers really screwed it up for a lot of people with the last call cars. The other thing too, though, that people don't understand, and I worked at a dealer when the Demon 170 was announced, right? So here's the flip side of that, and I was, of course, as anybody who likes this stuff as I do, I said, well, I got to have one of those. So called my boss up. He said, okay, yeah, we'll figure it out. I get to work the next day. Some lady calls and says, I would like to pay $150,000 over for a Demon 170 if you have one. Well, guess who's not getting one now? Because I'm sure as hell not paying. So, part of it is, the dealers, but then the other thing too is you got the over-anxious customers that get too excited and then they do it to themselves. And it sets a precedent too. And I'm not defending the dealers here on that, but I'm just saying there is two sides to the story too. I think the dealers really screwed everything up for everybody with the rest of the stuff, right? For the last years, like mark it up, Hellcats like $50,000 over for a regular Hellcat. Like, come on! But at the same time, actually, you could use that as a talking point for everybody that's disappointed that that the Hellcat's gone, that's about what these cars would cost if they kept selling them, because the cost of cafe credits keeps going up. So MSRPs are going to keep going up.
Mm-hmm. Well, dude, even 300Cs. So that car sold out in 12 hours, right?
Yeah.
I was there. I was one of the first ones to order it. And the funny thing was, there's 2,200 cars built, right? 2,000 for the U.S.
Yeah.
There's over 160 listed right now that are new on the lots.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Are still on lots that people haven't bought.
They made 200 for all of Canada, and I could take within a 1 hour radius of my house, I could go pick like 5 or 6 brand new ones if I wanted.
Yeah. So, I mean, and the sad thing is like that car was only $55,000, and I was lucky. I knew the dealer really good. I didn't say like, oh, I own a website and blah 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 blah, and I'm gonna market this car. I knew the people there and just said, hey, I want to buy this. I when you did the reservation, you picked the dealer. I picked the dealer, and part of the deal was they had to do it for the cost of the car.
Yeah.
Some dealers were screwing people out of that. That was part of the contract. But I bought my car for $55,000, and then I added, like, of course, I added powertrain, and by the time taxes and stuff rolled out, it was $63,000. But the problem is with interest rates and stuff right now, even if dealers mark up stuff, I'm paying like $7,000, and this was perfect credit. I put $5,000 down. I have like a 7.5% interest rate. And I'm paying more for that car than I did my $68,000 Dodge Ram 2 years ago. I'm paying twice as much. So that's what's crazy. That's why people aren't buying stuff. With dealer markups and stuff and high interest rates, dude, they're not going to be buying stuff. So I got a lot of people that are friends in the dealers here, not just Chrysler dealers, but GM dealers. My cousin works for a big GM dealer. And, dude, they're not selling cars. Like, they're at the point where they're saying, hey, come in, make us an offer, and we'll take it. So,
yeah.
We'll see.
It'll be interesting when these things come out. And when they hit lots. I'm really curious on what the price point's going to be on both the ICE and the EV versions. I hope that they keep them in check. Like, this is still a car for the average. Like, it still should be a car that the average person can afford. So, hopefully they've got that in mind when they price these things. Stellantis has been...
And you know what the funny thing is yeah.
Stellantis has been a joke with the pricing lately, I can tell you that.
It's funny because you got a picture of the 6-pack up. Yeah. The coupe. And I actually like the front of it a lot. It doesn't look too much different than the Daytona, but it's got that mail slot, lower grille. Yeah. I mean, if you look at the wheels and stuff, it matches the Scat Pack. So, I mean, it's actually pretty cool. I like the hood on it. Do you have a picture of the hood, like the power bulge on the hood with the 6-pack logo?
Should.
I know we kind of ramble on and off, but
yeah,
that's what these kind of are for.
They did a really good job with the design, I think. Like, I did not expect the Hurricane version 6-pack to look so close to the EV version. I thought they were going to have to radically redesign the front end. So I think they did a really good job with that. I don't, and this is right off the media site, so that's interesting.
There should be a picture of the domed hood, and it's got 6-pack on it, like the retractor. It's a clean looking hood design, and the car. I mean, people like. There's a couple people on here that don't like the car. I mean, I don't like everything about the car, but I mean, it does look pretty for what it is. So, I mean,
I've been
talking. It's going to take a while to get used to it.
I've been talking to some people about swapping a Hellcat into one.
I was gonna they I'm curious to see how many people will try to do that. I think there's going to be a huge amount of people that will try to swap a Hemi into this car.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I talked to, well, you know who I talked to. It's got some connections. I said, if I buy one of these things, what about getting a Hellcat or Demon motor swapped into it? Oh, looks like my camera died. I gotta switch to my webcam. Should probably actually work on wrapping this up here. We've been going
we can do that
on for a little while.
Let's see if there's any questions, and then we'll close it up. And if you guys like us doing stuff like this, let us know, because I mean, this is kind of fun. It allows us to communicate with you guys. Let's see here. Yeah, see the seat design. I like seat design.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Well, the Super B is the Charger 1320 with luxury options, BS options. Yeah, it 100% is. They should have built that car back in 2020. The wide body, basically a wide body 1320 Charger. Okay, I have to work to do. They come out and stop with these once again. The Destroyer 1320. If you guys have a current L series car, a 300 Charger or Charger, I just bought he builds these things that cover up. They're a plate that covers up the neutral.
Yeah.
Underneath, like next to the gear shifter.
That's Eric.
I bought one of his things. So, when I bought one of them, I have to install it. There's a whole bunch of stuff I have to do to my car. I just haven't had time. But yeah, he's got these things that will help out, especially around here. We live out of Detroit, and yeah, I'm 300. I don't want that thing stolen. Let's see here. Cool color on the Charger: B5 blue or frostbite. It's actually neither. The new color is what, Bludacious? That's what it's called.
Is that the dark? Is totally new color for the dark or the light though?
I believe. I want to say Bludacious is the bright color. After Dark is like a dark blue. That's supposed to be it's got the same. That's the color I'm interested in because it's the same color code as Fathom Blue, which is on the Pacifica.
Yeah.
So. But
Fathom
yes,
Blue
that's
nice
Bludacious. On the media site, it's Bludacious. So, and keep in mind, those are doctored up images that Chrysler puts out. So those aren't like guaranteed to be, like, you know, how can I say it? They're not gonna look exactly like those images, because those are all brightened up and all that stuff too. So
yeah, it is going to be a little different.
That's my company. Yep, it is. Let's see here. White knuckle RTS. Yep. Yeah, someone will put an ice-powered one and swap a Hemi into it instantly. See, and that's the thing. That's what we're trying to figure out right now. We got to figure out how much room is between the strut towers on that car.
Yeah.
So if we can figure out that it's with the same dimensions, or you can cut part of the strut tower, you're gonna have to. We've heard certain things like maybe it's like 3 inches more narrow than the current Charger, but
I've had some friends measure it, and from
we'll see.
What they've told me is that it should work.
Yeah. So we'll see, because hopefully it will. Because I guarantee Chrysler or Dodge with their direct connection, basically it's Mopar, they just call it direct connection for Dodge, will sell a hell of a lot of crate engines.
Yeah.
So, and the cool thing is that car's standard with all-wheel drive. So picture a Hemi car that can actually hook up. So
yeah,
that'll be pretty cool. So, all right, it would be cool if they would offer a Charger with an engine delete option.
Yeah, I wish if you
Dave,
could
I
just
don't know
buy
if
it
you
as a
heard-
body in white, like, let's go.
Yeah.
I would do
Dave
that.
hurt
I'd
me,
buy it
but,
as a
man,
body in
there's
white.
150 Chrysler 350.
I'd throw my Whipple
Well,
3.8 liter
what's
supercharged Hellcat motor in it and a 8-speed.
So we know there's going to be a big pack, right?
Yeah.
So right now in the direction portfolio in the catalog, you can buy a body in white Challenger. I guarantee you're going to be able to buy a body in white like Charger 2-door.
Yeah.
So it'll be very interesting to see. Will 2JZ swap first? Yeah. If you guys get a chance,
I'm hoping
if you
the
guys really
Hurricane's
don't
going to
think
be
that
the new
inline six is
2J. Give us some hope.
If you guys are kind of like wondering about inline sixes, twin turbo inline sixes, or turbocharged inline sixes, go on YouTube and search Ford Barra motors. The Barra was an inline six used in Australia. Those things made massive amounts of power,
Yeah.
and they sound super cool too.
I was I rented a Ford Falcon with a Barra motor in it when I was in Australia. It was a good time. It's a fantastic motor.
All right. Interior looks so generic. Well, you got to remember these are just like basically drawing images. Hopefully, we'll see the car actually in person soon and be able to actually look at the interior and actually see build quality. So that's at least what I'm hoping. Body only, make it a drag strip car, a racetrack car. I wouldn't doubt that they're going to do a direct connection body and white package. So it probably will just take some time. They're really slow at updating their direct connection catalog and stuff. So
coming out with their direct connection parts.
Coming out this summer, as the car is supposed to come out this summer, I wouldn't doubt that we wouldn't see one in probably in like 2025, 2026 in the direct connection catalog. All right. Does anybody have any other questions that we can help you guys with?
Give me 1 second. I'll be right back while you do that.
Yeah. Yeah, let's see here. This version has, yep, it's got a ZF transmission. Dave, are you in a Hot Wheels store? Yes, I am in a Hot Wheels store. No, this is my... You got to come over. Dave's a good buddy of mine. You got to come over and see all this stuff. Let's see. But yeah, overall, I mean, the new Charger, it's going to take a little while to get used to. But from when I've seen it in person, the pre-production car and the concept car, they both look great. It's just a drastic change, and I think people will get used to it as time comes. People, like Jared said, people just hate change.
Yeah,
it'll be weird not having a Challenger for a while.
I was saying, I started 5th gen Rams in 2017, and when the pictures of that truck started coming out, everybody hated it. Oh, Ram ruined the truck. It looks like crap. Don't like it. Blah, 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 blah. A little bit later, you see those same people are driving it, and they like it. It's the same with this, right? People are used to. I hope the Challenger's going to come back. I have a feeling it probably will. It's something special. The name's got too much brand recognition around it to get rid of it. MSRP predictions for 6-pack 2-door.
Well, considering all-wheel drive, I would say it's because it's all-wheel drive.
Maybe a little more.
Roughly around the Scat Pack, probably a little bit more. We're probably going to see the 2-door around $60,000. I guarantee it, at least.
Yeah.
So we're hoping that they're going to come out with a cheaper
Canadian
model.
For a, yeah, you might be right.
So I'm hoping that they'll build a cheaper version. I would love to see the standard output in the 2-door with rear-wheel drive. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. And I'd like
I
to
just
see,
don't think that they're showing us the whole portfolio yet. I think they're going to try to milk it out, kind of like what they did, like the trickle down effect, like what they did with the RTs and the GTs, how they got the Scat Pack stuff. I guarantee that's the kind of stuff that they're going to do marketing wise in the future.
Yeah.
So
I mean, they just
trickle down.
They're just finishing up a whole new car that they're going to have to keep interesting for years, right? They don't lay everything out on the table year one. Stuff always trickles in after, so when we'll see stuff like
Ralph Gilles said they're already working on the refresh of this thing. They're that far ahead with it. I'm wondering if I should trade in my 2020 Charger RT for the 6-pack. If you got an RT, it's going to be a lot more power. If you're looking at are you looking at the coupe or the sedan? Because the sedan's got 420 horsepower, and that's going to be an awesome car with all-wheel drive. But again, I would wait to see pricing. Pricing is probably going to be kind of outrageous, so I would wait a little bit. I guarantee we're going to see pricing within the next month. So
probably car comes out this summer, so we'll see pricing fairly soon.
Spring we'll see pricing.
Yeah.
And we're going to only see pricing on the electric cars first. They won't have the 6-pack cars pricing until probably fall.
If even that, I bet you they keep the 6-pack cars close to launch. The 6-pack cars don't launch till like mid next year, right? They're almost a whole year behind the EVs, so.
Yeah, I want to say. I think they said. Did they say first quarter? Did they say first quarter with the electric and the 6-pack?
I thought the 6-pack was. I thought the 6-pack was second quarter of 2025, and the.
Could be, but yeah, we won't see pricing for those cars for a while. But I can guarantee they're going to be there's going to be a hefty price to them. But I wouldn't put it past them to introduce something else coming down the road. So
yeah.
Order cars, the only option I want is it hauls ass, nothing else, no more for BS luxury options. That's kind of funny because my best friend, his father bought a base model Scat Pack Charger in 2022. It's got cloth seats, no options, and with discounts and stuff, I think he paid $35 for it. And all he wanted was the motor, and that car is awesome. It's got everything he wants. It's got an 8.4-inch touchscreen. It's got cloth seats, like I said. No thrills, but it's got the 6.4, and it does the same exact thing my 300C does with every option.
Yeah.
Hopefully in the next year, interest rate. Yeah, well, let's hope. We got both the U.S. and Canada have big political things going on right now, so we'll see. Let's see. It's kind of sad to see a whole generation of cars almost dead. Well, that's the thing. The older cars are, how can I say it? I think there's going to be a return of sedans, especially with the cost of EVs. We've heard, like I said, the Chrysler CEO says that, hey, we're sedans. I don't see a future without sedans. GM has mentioned something about building sedans in the future. So we might see more cars than you think. With the Camaro going out, the Camaro ended production the same week that the Charger 300 and Challenger did. Chevy doesn't have anything right now lined up to replace it. But people have been talking for a long time that a sedan will replace the Camaro. So we'll see.
Yeah. At least we still have a coupe option.
I hope they don't kill the brand spirit. I don't think they'll kill the brand spirit. I think it's a huge transition to this electric crap. But the funny thing is this weekend I did a poll on all of our Mopar Insiders social media just to see what people thought. Like, would you go EV or would you go ICE? And believe it or not, over 85% on Instagram said that they would go ICE over EV. On Facebook, there was over 120 comments last time I looked, and over 90% of the comments were ICE. So I think the 6-pack models are going to be a huge hit for the brand.
The 6-pack
As long
models
as
are going to
they-
sell, and the EVs are going to be more of a niche car. That's my guess.
Yeah. But it depends on pricing. If they can make that car competitive, like $45,000 to $50,000, they'll sell tons of them.
Yeah.
It won't be the leader. Yeah, I agree. Hatchbacks or wagons, and wagons. Hatchbacks. You know what's funny? Everybody complained about this car being a hatchback. When I first seen this car, when it was unveiled, they had the hatch open on it. And a lot of people don't realize that, like, if you look back at the very first Charger, the 1966 model, it was a fastback, but it was almost like a hatch. And this car kind of, like, represents kind of the same thing. I think it works out great. Again, the only problem I have with it is if they build a Pursuit model for law enforcement, they got to come up with some kind of structure to keep the perps out of the back on it. But other than that, I think the hatch model works great. It opens up, the body lines on it and stuff look just like a trunk. You can't tell that it's a hatch when it's closed. So, and the best thing is if you get the Scat Pack model, if you get or even the RT, if you get the Plus package, it's a power hatch. So you don't have to take and slam it down. You can just press a button right on the inside and it'll shut automatically. Let's see here. Just stay with rear-wheel drive. Can't stand front drive stuff. Well, the cool thing is, unfortunately for the EV stuff, it will be standard all-wheel drive, just like the internal combustion engines ones. However, there's a donut mode for the electric stuff. And what the donut mode is, it will kick it in, so it'll just be rear-wheel drive. The 6-pack model cars, Dodge has already said, Tim Kuniskis already said that there's going to be a button that you press and it will basically disable or disengage the front electric motor. So basically the wheels are just free rolling. Or sorry, I'm thinking electric. You'll be able to press the button. It'll disconnect the transfer case just like the current Chargers do. And basically the front wheels will just be independent, rolling just like normal, just no power to them, and they'll be just rear-wheel drive. So it's a very similar system, I think, that was used in the current Charger and Challenger and 300 system. So ICE engines for life. I don't disagree with that at all. So what's it say? What a stupid move by Stellantis pushing EVs ones first. They didn't see Ford and Chevy can't even give them away. And we talked about that earlier.
Either, but I bet you it's probably got something to do with cafe credits.
Probably
is my guess.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see though how people. The one thing is they're really pushing the EV stuff because of the E-Stage upgrades you get for free for 2024. That's really the big thing, that if you buy one of these 2024 models, you're getting like a couple $1,000s worth of upgrades for free. So that's a huge promotional thing for these cars.
Unless it's built into the price, we don't know that.
Oh, it will be built into the price of the 2024 cars.
Yeah, so you're not really getting it for free, though, is what I'm saying.
Probably
you're not paying for it later.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we'll see, because they're only offering those two trims in those two performance packages. So
true.
But yeah, I mean, I hope to God that something else comes down the line. I mean, even if they put like the 2-liter inline, 4 in it, the Hurricane 4 motor in it, just as a base model to drop the price in the car in the 6-pack, that would be awesome. I don't have a problem with that engine. So
sounds like shit.
It does, but you know what? 280 horsepower, and then they got the Evo motor coming out, which is supposed to be what, 300?
Yeah.
320? So
well, maybe we'll save that one for next week. We'll do another live. I don't know if we should talk about the what we know about the 2025 Ram HD or like a WL refresh or something like that. But
I think we should talk about the heavy duty. There's a lot of cool stuff coming out. Yeah. And I just posted stuff on HD Rams and Mopar Insiders about it. And there's probably more stuff coming this weekend. Hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah, there's still some stuff that hasn't been talked about yet. Yeah.
How
All
much
right, well, let's,
horsepower do you think the Banshee will have?
We've been going for like
The
2
Banshee,
hours now.
they
We should
that's
probably.
fine. I'll answer this one last question. They said that the Banshee will probably have around 880 horsepower as a standard one, but there's going to be 2 E-Stage upgrade kits, and we know that the Tesla Model S is going to be its target. So the Tesla Model S has 1,020 horsepower. So we wouldn't be surprised if it has like 1,050 horsepower max.
I bet you they might even go higher than that. I think they might be sandbagging with the 880 base number.
Could be.
I don't think for the top trim car that's where they want to be. And actually, you know what? That brings up another point too. When everybody's looking at these and comparing them to Hellcats and Red Eyes and stuff like that, and it's not the same. Either a Challenger RT is not the same as a Red Eye either, and that's still the same kind of comparison.
True.
We're just taking it across 2 generations, right? Will power upgrades on the EVs end up being subscription based? I sure as hell hope not. My God.
So
do it as
they
a buy
said
it
that
and forget it deal.
They said that you'll be able to go into a dealer, purchase the upgrade, and it won't be subscription based. Somebody I know was sitting in a meeting and they were talking about these subscription based programs at Stellantis, and basically everybody kind of like blew up about it, saying like no one's going to buy any of these things. If you have to pay for heated seats by the monthly basis, they said people won't buy the cars. So
they're not wrong. I think BMW already retracted when they tried that. It should just be like, why even if it's an EV, why even have to go in the dealer? Like when I had my Model 3, what I did is I had the Model 3 long range, and then you could do the performance upgrade through the app, which makes it perform almost like a Model 3 performance. I was charging the car, and like I said, I bought the car, owned it for 3 months. I just wanted to get my feet wet with the whole EV thing, since we're all going to get stuck with it rammed down our throats anyway, and if I'm going to be a journalist and write about it and talk about it, I wanted some experience with it. So I was charging it at a Tesla supercharger. I went on my app, and then I just said, oh, what the hell? Click the button for performance update, sends it to the car does a reboot, and all of a sudden it's faster. It takes out some of the joy of working on your car and stuff, because, you know, that can be good times. It can also be bad times. I've thrown wrenches at cars and stuff before too, so it's a give and take when it comes to that. But, I mean, as long as it's something like that, that's fine. I know they want you to go to the dealer and get a crystal and whatever and wish upon a star and all this crap, but if I could just buy it through my app without having to do anything, that'd be great too.
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, it's not going to be subscription based. They already said that you can get it through when you go to pick up your car. It'll be already programmed from the dealer, and you can take your car back anytime you want to have it upgraded. So no biggie. So no subscriptions. But I think that's a good note to end on, dude.
Yep, I think so. Overall, impressions of the car for me to close it out. I like it. I think it's got potential. Of course, sad to see the V8 go away. But, I mean, I guess we got to change with the times, right? It is what it is.
Yeah, I think we do. But, I don't know. I think you never say never. You know what I mean? Like, things could change. It wouldn't be bad if we got a change in government policies, and if, let's say, there's a new CEO that comes in and it's all gung-ho, who knows. I think the car looks great overall. There's only a couple things I don't like about it, and I'm not going to go through it all again, but I like the sedan version. I think the sedan looks good. I think the coupe looks really good. I don't have any complaints, really. I mean, there's certain things I'm going to nitpick just because I'm a diehard Mopar guy, but I think they did an overall great design on overall the R-Wing design and everything on the electric looks good, but I think the ICE model looks just as good. So I think the six pack looks just as good. I love the power dome hood on that six pack model. So, but I'm very impressed with how they can keep the two cars looking pretty close, and overall it's a good blend. When you see this car, even like Jared, you've seen the concept. It looks like a Dodge in person.
It does, yeah.
So, but yeah.
All right. That seems like a good note to leave off on. It was fun chatting with all you guys about it. And I guess we'll be back next week and talk about the heavy duties.
Yeah, I'm excited about those. So.
Yeah, me too. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Rob, thank you for your input as always. And
no problem, man.
Yeah, we'll chat later. See you guys.